Hello, everyone. This is Stephanie Boozer with CUGC HQ, and I am so happy to welcome you to today's User Share webinar. We're going to be talking all about some really cool inside tips and tricks about how to win the Citrix Converge Hackathon with the winning team from last year. They've got lots of great stuff for us. But before we dive into that, just have a couple of quick announcements for you. As usual, I like to point out our upcoming meetings. So our local groups are in full swing. Our calendar is very full right now. So definitely head on out to our events calendar and take a look at what's coming up. We've got lots going on, particularly this week, you can see. Also, we've got our 2XL events coming up. Next week is our Canada event. Anybody can attend that, but it's hosted by our Canadian groups. So it's a full afternoon of really great technical sessions, lots of security themed sections next week. And then the next XL is our central event. So that refers to Central Plains, so the middle of the country there. Lots of great content for you. So hopefully you will check those out. And then obviously also on the screen for you is next week's webinar. It's a user share with Marius Sandbu. He's going to go over the EUC State of the Union, the 2021 edition. He did a 2020 edition last year. And so he's going to recap 2020, which we all know was very interesting, and then talk about what he thinks is coming up in 2021. All right, so just a couple of housekeeping details for you. We are recording today's webinar and you will receive a link to it. It will come directly from GoToWebinar, so be on the lookout for that. Also, as we go along, please submit your questions at any time. We'll try to take some during, but we'll most likely save them for the end. But go ahead and type them as you have them. And at the end, I have a short survey for you. It's anonymous and for CUGC use only, and I'll throw that link in the chat for you towards the end of the webinar, so be on the lookout for that. Okay, we have a lot of people with us today. I'm very pleased to welcome Pat Patterson and Sunny Chen from Citrix. Hello, fellas.
Hi.
And also we have from the Brickbridge consulting team, we have Alex Davis, Spencer D, Alex Edelin, Sohal Patel, and Gil Roberts. They're going to be giving us all their awesome inside tips and information about what they did at the hackathon. So very excited to have the winning team here. I know they all worked really hard and can't wait to hear what they have to say and show us today. And then also helping us with the Q&A discussion, we have Martin Thurkelson. He is a CTP. Welcome, Martin.
Thank you.
All right, well, I am going to hand things right over to you. I think, Pat, I'm giving you the screen first, right?
Yeah, and I'm just wrestling with GoToWebinar.
Well, I'm sending you.
Oh, there we go. Now I have the control. Okay, so welcome everybody to this webinar with CUGC, how to win the Citrix Converge Hackathon. I'm really excited to hear from the Brickbridge team. So if you haven't heard from me before, I'm Pat Patterson. My title is Developer Evangelist Architect, which are 3 random words my boss threw together when he hired me. I've been at Citrix for just coming up to, I think it's 8 months now. In the past, I've been at, Sun Microsystems, Salesforce, and a startup called StreamSet. So I'm pretty new to Citrix technology, but I've been working with developers and developer communities for about 15 years now. And if you want to fuel my personality cult, you can follow me on Twitter at Metadaddy. And I'm joined by Sunny. Introduce yourself, Sunny. You're an old hand here, right?
Call me old, man. Hey everybody, I'm Sunny Chen. I am a developer evangelist manager, and I report to the architect Pat here. I've been at Citrix for almost 10 years now, working on basically every product under the product design banner. So now I am working on the developer community and helping out plan things like Citrix Converge and the Hackathon, and being a talking head in videos like this with Pat. So
awesome. And we'll let the Brickbridge folks introduce themselves later. We're going to start by just giving a little bit of background here. Sonny, why don't you fill us in on the origin of Converge? Because that all happened before I showed up, right?
Yeah, so it was something that came up in 2019 where we wanted to begin our first foray into our developer community and really tap all the developers and all the wonderful projects they were working on and seeing how we can incorporate them with our Citrix technology. So we had the first Converge in 2019. We had it in our Santa Clara location, and we had a good amount of people show up learning about our micro app technology that we just released and how to build micro apps. And within that, we had a 3-day hackathon, and we had some winners there. And from there, we decided, well, it was great. Let's do it again. So we wanted to do it again moving into 2020, and then this little thing called a pandemic with COVID hit, and I just, we were like, okay, yeah, let's see how we're going to make this happen. So we went with the virtual edition in early 2020, and then from there we had the first win for Brickbridge here, where they took in a championship and showed some amazing stuff what they could do with our technology. And then we did it again towards the tail end of 2020, where you joined in, Pat.
Yeah, and this time we were kind of a little bit prepared. It was always planned as a virtual event. And yeah, well, while the first couple of Converges focused squarely on micro apps, that technology in workspace with intelligence, for the November Converge, we widened it out to the entire company, the whole range of Citrix technologies, but from a developer focus. So we had 63 breakout sessions. I was really pleased to see more than 20 came from our community, and they are all online and will remain online at the Citrix Developer YouTube channel. So I encourage you to check those out. We've got content from micro apps to CVAD to what do we call networking nowadays? Application delivery and security. Yep. Yeah, and it was it succeeded beyond our expectations, I'll be honest. We had over 1,800 unique viewers in YouTube and participation in Slack, where we ran the Q&A. And over just those 2 weeks, we had over 4,000 views on YouTube and countless since then. And that actually brings me to the first poll that we're going to run. I'm going to run a couple of polls now. So I'd really like to know what role do you have? Stephanie, if you can run that poll. So are you a developer, an administrator? Do you count yourself as a cloud ops, DevOps engineer, or are you above everything as an architect? Or you might have some other role that we haven't anticipated. So yeah, please select one of those, press a button, and gamble away, as the game show had it. How long do we run the poll for? Usually a few seconds.
Yeah, I can give them just a couple more. I was going to see if anybody put anything in the chat, and they are. They've got administrator, engineer, and a bit of all.
Right.
So I'll go ahead and close it, and then I'll share the results so you can see them. Can everybody see those?
Okay, so this is really interesting. A lot of architects, a lot of admins, a few cloud ops, DevOps engineers, and then some others. Interestingly, nobody classes themselves as a developer, although I suspect probably most of us have written some code of some sort. And yeah, if we can run the second poll, it'd be interesting to see what kind of company you're coming from. Do you have Citrix deployed? Are you in a customer organization? Are you some kind of partner? Gil, do you count yourselves as an ISV or an SI, or is it kind of all a bit of everything these days?
These days we do a little bit of everything. We're definitely much more into a systems integrator. If you had to pin us down, and
right. And I'm guessing that some attendees actually work for Citrix. And again, there might be other categories there that I have not anticipated. Okay. Oh wow. So we've got a really good showing from Citrix customers, over 3/4. a few ISVs, a few more SIs, and some fellow Citrites. Welcome. Okay, so yeah, let's move along. And how do I get back to showing now? There we go. So I'll show. Yeah. So sorry, brain fart there. Brickbridge won the most recent hackathon, and I think the best way to cue things up is to just show their winning video, because it was a tour de force through the micro apps and workspace. And let me see if I can just cue this up now. My mouse disappeared. Here we go.
Hello, Team Brickbridge here. We've got a demo today. We're going to do about 37 actions over the course of this video, so it's going to come rapid fire. This is Jerry Riggs' first day on the job, his first interaction with the workspace experience. Here we're going to have a COVID waiver. Jerry's on call today, so he may need to go in the building, so he's going to go ahead and certify on COVID, and he's going to begin to provision his own desktop. Once it's provisioned, he's going to move into the full experience. See the COVID waiver there. A concept that we've been able to pioneer in Workspace is the self-configuration and onboarding of end users. So just like you've seen me provision this desktop here, end users can interact with a temporary set of notifications to help them set up their software. Another concept that we worked with is updating HR profiles as well as other bits of information. So that's that post-onboarding setup. We can see here he missed the zip code. So he can get in, double check his information post onboarding. Another feature that we wanted to display today was having two pieces of software work together. This one is a LinkedIn with a Podio-based CRM. He'll look in that. That's going to be connected to a smartphone. So I guess three pieces of software connected here. Smartphone installation. We'll show smartphone again here in just a moment. That allows people to, the customer's been added to a CRM. And right now it starts bringing in LinkedIn feeds about that customer to have a better relationship. Citrix Workspace is wonderful bringing work to you. We have some EG innovations, get an alarm system report, looks like there's something wrong inside the system. The work comes to you. So you don't have to look and worry about customer systems. If there's a problem, we can actually surface that. So he investigated the issue. He's going to use Toggle to log in. A nice integration we were able to put together for Toggle. Start those billable hours. Contact the customer. It's a unified communications channel. The voice over IP and text is right here inside the workspace experience. Send a message to the customer to try to have a conversation. So he can send that text message out. He can also receive the text message inside of Workspace. All that's unified, all that's tracked for compliance and billing reasons. He's going to send that message out. And this just, again, it streamlines communications. You can stop the billable time, obviously, waiting for a resolution. Another thing is employee engagement and morale. This one we have Metal Mondays here at Brickbridge and able to send out a Spotify playlist for people to enjoy. We'll have more examples of that coming. Another innovation we have is to try to catch the balls that drop on behalf of the workspace users. So with the unified communications, we can see that we sent a text message and then she called back. We missed the voicemail. We'll just use Vite quickly, phone tag detected. He's going to select a few times that he's free or busy. That'll send it over to the customer. They can then select a time via email and it'll automatically match a meeting. Immediately he context switch right into GitHub. So he's able to kind of handle that portion with the customer and then move over into the next part of his work. He's got a GitHub project that he's working on. You see Vite has already set up the Zoom meeting, so from that phone tag, it goes right into the Zoom meeting setup. Seamless, seamless. Hey, you missed me, I missed you. We're not going to play phone tag. Let's set a time. Here's the Zoom link. Zoom's created. You can take a look at it, edit its schedule. It's all right here. It's a nice, simple process. Didn't have to color out the side of the lines to be able to get right with the customer. Speaking of being with the customer, having some employer-ordained distractions, industry news, current events, be able to cogently talk with customers about industry events, and some fun stuff like movie reviews. These can be curated by employers to allow employees to have a break. In the same vein, employees can get right back engaged. Either reward systems like this Uber Eats is his first day, so we're going to get a meal, or the LinkedIn where a client's post, instead of you going to LinkedIn and trying to hunt through the feed, that LinkedIn post from that client or potential customer comes right to you. Got a reminder in the meeting, jump right in, all seamless transitions.
Excellent stuff. So let's see if we can switch that away. And yeah, let's talk to the team from Brickbridge. And let me bring up your slides because it'd be great to hear a bit about, no, not the video. Okay, GoToWebinar is rebelling against me here. Okay, there we go, back to the slides. Excellent. So yeah, if you want to watch that video again, it's on YouTube. I created a bit.ly link there. So bit.ly/converge_BBC. And yeah, here's Gil to tell us a bit about, sorry, don't click on the link. Oh, really? Okay, use the arrow key to go forward.
Got a demo today. We're doing about
Right.
it might be running in the background there, Pat.
Yeah. What I discovered then was that PowerPoint will take you to the link wherever you click on the screen.
Okay, that's a little inconvenient.
Yeah.
That's all right. If I've seen that video so many times now because we've reviewed it when we're editing it, and I get tongue twisted a few times in there, so I'm happy not to be the only one making mistakes. Now look, my name is Gil Roberts, Director of Operations here at Brickbridge. With me is the Brickbridge team. I'll introduce them here in just a second. I will not bore this crowd to death with who we are. What you see in the video is what we're able to do with Citrix Workspace with Intelligence. We work on a couple other Citrix SaaS-based softwares. That's where we mostly are. We are a Citrix partner, and we help with customer implementations, both with other partners, as well as any customer implementations or post implementations. We were founded in 2016. We're a younger company. I actually started as a Podio user back in 2012. It's always people find us as a curiosity. We did nothing but Podio development for about 3 odd years now. So if 2016, you guys do the math. We got shown Workspace with Intelligence early on, and we just fell in love with it. We saw it in the summer of 2019 after the Sappho acquisition. We went out to Converge, myself, my business partner, as well as a couple other team members. Went out there and we had a good time. We really enjoyed Citrix's company out there. We wish we could get back to that. I know things are, hopefully we can get back to that new normal everybody keeps talking about sooner rather than later. So it was a great time there. We became a partner right after that event. We did win a category, most innovative, I think it is. I might be skipping ahead on, go ahead and go to the next slide. I think I only got 3 slides, so I promise this won't go too long. Yeah, we won most innovative in fall 2019. We came back with Sohal and myself. We won the business value spring 2020. I know that was kind of like, didn't have an overall winner then, but that was what the rubric was slated to. In that demo is kind of a smaller version of what you guys saw there. We were able to bring one of our great partners and friends, smartphone, and Jordan Fleming's group over there, Podio developers. So there's a kind of a niche but deep Podio development community that has been working with customers for quite some time, and that's where we came from. So we wanted to bring that smartphone product right there, because it's not just the distractions of all the browser tabs and everything else that's on there. It's like, there's a phone on this desk over here, right? It rings too, that's a distraction. Let's bring that inside the user interface so that the employee stays focused on what they're supposed to be doing and what they're supposed to be doing next. I know browser tab problem is it's, you know, we used to have it to where it was a bunch of applications that you had open on your desk. It just, we migrated to the browser, and then there's a million browser tabs. But I know some of the people out in the audience probably got a few of them that you're juggling while I'm talking. So get it. I mean, that's where the software went from the computer into the cloud. It just never addressed the problem of having all these disparate systems. And we saw that. And what we wanted to do for our fall 2020 Converge was to actually really bring a lot of these different systems together, because a lot of the clients that we worked with over the summer, along with our Citrix Ready Back to Work solution with Sohal, basically did the yeoman's work there and got that together. What we found is it's Citrix Workspace with intelligence, and what we saw in the field is, yeah, they put a couple pieces of software in there, but you still have the browser tab problem. It's just kind of like, okay, I took 2 or 3 browser tabs and just combined it into one tab, right? We're like, that's not the way that this is meant to be used. It's meant to take all those browser tabs and put it into this environment. So the only way that that's going to happen, especially with a new class of software like this, is to bring all that software in there and see what it looks like together. So that's what we went and we did a no idea too ridiculous, and we came up with Spotify and New York Times, which we're going to dive into a couple of those, as well as Toggle on there. Okay, so the hackathon team. I am the voice of the video. That's about it. So, you know, kind of coach from I was kind of in the spring one, I got to say. So all that's basically 99% him on the spring one. And then for this one here particularly, we had these 4 gentlemen were able to put in some work, and outside of Sohal, Alex, we have a moratorium on the number of Alexes now at the company, but and Spencer here were able to come together, and they came from a local university here, and we were able to train them. They took the micro app service class. Can definitely recommend that for Citrix training if you guys are interested. I saw no developers in there, so if you're a little scared of APIs and things like that, I think that's a good way to approach it. If you are used to that or do that in kind of not in your regular technical role, this is pretty approachable. I want to make that clear. But Sohal definitely led the team. Mr. Edlin here that you see on the screen, Mr. Davis and Mr. D, put in the hours to be able to bring you that video. Yeah, so I'm going to let them. I'm going to step aside here in just a second and get us started on what we're going to talk about next. But you know, it really came down to, you know, how much could we show in you know, we have a 5-minute time. They time box. You got 5 minutes. Can't prattle on forever. So we had to speed up some of the parts. You know, most people notice there's some time movement, but people know what opening a desktop looks like. So we just wanted to be able to show as much content as possible, because really the more that you put into Workspace, the more valuable it becomes, and that value adds rapidly. I mean, we see a lot of payback periods in less than a year once they start compounding the software and their people and software inside of it.
All right, well, thanks, Gil. And there's a few areas out of that video that I want to kind of drill down into with you all. And before we get started, Spencer, was that your high school yearbook picture that we just saw there?
No, that was me like last year.
Right.
Yeah. People tell me I have a baby face, so.
No offense meant whatsoever.
Yeah.
It's better than
even
like
worse in person.
Yeah. Okay, so yeah, tell us a little. Let's start, because one of the first things we saw in that video was the self-service desktop application integration. So I believe that was one of the pieces. Was it? I guess the term a little bit more aspirational at the time.
Yeah, I'll take that for just a second. And Sohal, Mr. Edlin, I think you guys worked on that a little bit more. So obviously there's time constraints in a hackathon, and we wanted to show that possibility is there. And actually it's become a Citrix Ready entry to be able to have CVAD now. And you know, let's be honest, we didn't want to get a whole bunch into that, because we knew, I can't say we knew, we guessed that Citrix is probably going to bring its own products into this. So what we wanted to do is actually just show people the possibility. We did have, well, I'll let, so Mr. Edlin, I'll let you guys take that actually. We'll take it from there. You guys.
So one of the issues when we were trying to make that work was how do we get the desktop to that user? So one of the solutions that I came up with, well, everything is based on subscription based, right? So we had authentication with cloud with Azure, and Azure is really great with creating groups and so on and so forth with subscription based. So why not we configure a desktop that is set on a specific a group that we only allow that type of whoever's the employee or whoever's requesting it only on that group whenever they're assigned a desktop. So whenever somebody's requesting a desktop and an admin approves it on the back end, there's an API call made to Azure that moves them into that group. So now when they refresh the Citrix Cloud on their workspace, they'll be able to see that desktop.
Got it. Got it. So it's interesting that, I mean, so Converge was just November and we just began March. And, you know, if you've looked at the, anybody in the audience, if you've looked through the Converge videos or if you attended the event, Phil Whiffen kind of did a session along the same lines, you know, roughing out an architecture. And there was, I think, you know, what you were saying there, Sohail, you had to do quite a lot of kind of bolting together of bits and pieces, and this is exactly what Phil did as well. And in talking to Phil on this topic this morning, actually, he said, yeah, that was a bit of a dodgy hack. Don't talk about that too much, because actually we put it into the product in February. So about 2 or 3 weeks ago, we released this new micro app template as product. So you can actually do exactly this integration that Brickbridge, you know, had to bring together manually, and Phil kind of roughed out sample architecture, but we actually built this into product now. So you can do exactly this idea of letting employees do this self-service provisioning. So it's pretty cool to kind of see these things coming around. So the next thing I wanted to talk to you about was the EG Innovations dashboard you showed. And I'll be honest, you know, I love this kind of eye candy. So what was going on there? How did you hook that up, and what were you trying to show?
I can talk about the use case on it a little bit, Mr. Edlin, if you want to talk about how that was, kind of summarize how that was done. We actually contacted EG Innovations. They reached out to us, and we saw that they were a sponsor. We were like, oh, we got to get them in the video, right? Shameless plug. So you know, what was really cool is they have, and if you guys have not, those out in the audience have not seen EG Innovation stuff, they've done a really great job at visualization. You saw one screen there, you saw us click into a few other things. It's really cool, so give them a try. But you know, we talked to them a little bit and said, hey, we want to bring this in. They, you know, kind of asked us, obviously they're vendors, so they wanted to kind of understand what it was going to be. They had to do a little bit of editing for us to be able to, not editing of what you saw there, they actually had to change their software just a little bit to be able to pass some of those, like that topo map that actually comes over into Workspace with intelligence. But we just wanted to bring that visual element, because there's a lot of softwares that have these beautiful visuals. And we want people to understand it. The Workspace doesn't replace anything. It's additive. It brings all the things together and allows the work to come to employee instead of those browser tabs. So, Mr. Edlin, if you want to kind of discuss how that was.
Yeah, working with EG was a great experience, because not only was that most of the other apps had pretty well-documented API access and things like that. So we were able to work with EGI as they were beginning to build theirs out as well. So it was a good learning experience on both ends. So it wasn't just going and looking up the API docs. We were communicating back and forth with what needed to be done on both ends to get that to be able to be built out in Citrix Workspace.
So the hackathon was driving innovation.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, that's that's why we had that no ideas too ridiculous attitude about hackathons, and I think that's really, when we say let's get rid of this desk phone in the spring, and it's like let's bring some cool stuff into this interface, like the Spotify, and I want to talk about that in the New York Times stuff that we're working on. We're like, hey, what is the human being doing in front of the keyboard? Let's be honest. Some of us check Facebook. Some of us are going to go look, at the movie reviews or make dinner plans. I mean, we're human beings. We have families. There's other things outside of this, digital world that's going on. So we just wanted to address the user on the other side of the screen in totality, right? And for employers, that's great because you can control some of that distraction. Can't get rid of it. I mean, let's be honest, everybody here, we all can get distracted, probably distracted listening to the webinar, right? It just is what it is. And being able to actually use that energy in a positive way is good. I'd love to dive into Spotify and New York Times here. I know we can talk about it forever. So
that was exactly my next segue, as everybody's horrified by my ancient taste.
How about too terrible in there? I like the Fatboy Slim. That's good.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah. So actually, yeah. That was the bit for me that really raised my eyebrows, was when you brought in the Spotify playlist. And I participate in a Slack workspace for developer relations folks, and one of the other members is a Spotify developer advocate. So yeah, it'd be really interesting to hear you talk about how you and why you integrated Spotify and how that experience was.
Well, I'll take it real quickly, and then Spencer, I'd love to for you to talk about that. You and Mr. Davis worked on those together. So what we wanted to do is, first off, be something fun, right? And there's a lot of workplace culture missing. We really identified what was cultural elements in 2020 when it came to like in person in the office. Some of that water cooler chat is not there. The ping pong tables, all the things that we're able to kind of gravitate around as people, right? And one of the big universals that people can do on a computer pretty easily is listen to music, right? While you're doing work, you might put on a podcast or music. You could substitute those pretty well. Spotify does podcasts. So, and we're like, well, that's going on. That's going to go on. A lot of people aren't always on the phone, so there's going to be some music going on. Why not the companies take advantage of that and actually use that as a cultural element out to the employees, and you get to control it, right? You get to control that distraction, but also give them a goodie. Workspace is making you so efficient, and giving a little bit of that efficiency back to the employee and just addressing that culture. Spencer, why don't you tell us how?
Yeah, so one of the main things that Gil wanted us to focus on when designing our hackathon entry was something that we use every day. And so Spotify was definitely one of those things we just talked about. We're like, what's one thing we do every day? We listen to music. So just putting that within the workspace and having that available to end users is just something that's invaluable, I think. And like Gil said, the water cooler stuff as well, because having something that like unifies the office is one, whereas you all receive a notification to the company playlist every week is something I think is invaluable as well. So to us, when we thought of Spotify as an integration, it was a no-brainer to bring it into the hackathon.
And then on a technical level, I mean, how was it working with their APIs through the micro app builder? They
have a lot of good API documentation. The one thing I wish we could do was it would be really cool if we could play the music from the workspace. We had to just link it to Spotify, which works just as fine. But they had pretty ample documentation on how to properly lay everything out and everything like that. There were a couple more features we thought about adding, but just for time's sake, we kept them mostly just to playlists.
So all of that calling into Spotify, bringing back a playlist, rendering it on the screen, that was pretty much just configuration.
Yeah, essentially, yeah.
No custom code required.
Not really. We did a little bit of JSON within there, but it was mostly just configuration, yeah.
Just interpreting the response.
Yeah, exactly. one thing I do want to add is Workspace added the new scripting transformation, which is great. It'll now allow you to expand on what you actually need. There are a lot of third-party applications, APIs out there that the Workspace users don't need all that data, or you personally, the developer, don't need that data. And you can transform what you're receiving from the API to only get what you actually need that's useful. And it actually saves you time creating these micro apps. So I just want to add that into, because you can use that on Spotify as well.
Yeah, that's a great point, Sohail. I mean, it so happens that Spotify has a very well-behaved RESTful API, but not every service has that. And the scripting transformations is something I'm planning to delve into in a future webinar. And that kind of brings us on to, the next topic, that not every service has an API that follows the kind of REST template that Workplace is expecting. And we saw in the video you did some integration with Toggle. And how did that work out?
It was, I'll let Mr. Davis, Mr. D, I'll let you guys respond to that one.
Yeah,
it was cool.
On that one. So Toggle's API docs are also pretty good as well. One thing we wanted to do with them at the start was add like a reports feature into it. Unfortunately, we couldn't figure out a way to customize that within the workspace, so we just kind of stuck with clocking in and clocking out. But it was pretty fun working with Toggle. They have a lot of cool features within their website. They have 3 different types of, I guess, integrations you could go with. You can go with Toggle Track, or you can go more planning. But there's a lot of stuff to work with there, and we plan on expanding on it once we hopefully get that app into the workplace or into the market.
And Toggle, so I think it's a little newer, right?
Mm-hmm. They don't have like the best of the document. It's on GitHub. Let's just say their document. So they're still expanding upon it. There's some things that we wish that they had, where we can dictate which users are creating the instead of just adding in as a comment, okay, this person created a timesheet and so on and so forth. But
yeah, and I'm not looking to put Toggle down here. Is the point? The point really is, you have to understand the APIs that you're working with and kind of work within those constraints and surface what you can in the workspace, I guess.
It was good for what we needed it for. We were looking for software that effectively clocked us in and clocked us out, and it did that very well. The reports would have been nice, but we got what we needed from it.
Awesome. All right. And now, we're kind of coming towards the if we think about the path through the video, we're coming towards the end. And what I'd really like to hear about is what this hackathon, obviously the whole team put a lot of work into this. I'm dread to think how many person hours went into creating that. But what's been the return for you, apart from this fabulous exposure on the webinar and the Citrix developer YouTube site? Gil, I guess as the business focused one here, you could maybe fill us in.
Yeah, so there's we always say what's in it for me, right? And depending on who you are, a customer or partner or even a Citrite, I mean, it's gotta connect with you personally. And for us, obviously the exposure is always wonderful. We're a young company. It's super helpful, and we're very thankful for Citrix putting the hackathon on. It's really brought us into the forefront and allowed us to be on the edge of innovation with this particular product. One of the things that I think you had it up on the screen there that we did over the summer was a back to work product. I know it was over the summer, so everybody was like a little early, right? We're gonna go back to work, and then the fall happened, and then now we're getting back to work, right? Because we got the vaccines out. So, you know, it's one of those things where we wanted to be able to add that to the community. You saw it kind of in the front of the video. We turned this into a Citrix Ready package so that you can bring this to your office when you guys are ready to go back to work or get people coming in and out of the building. And it works also with guests as well, so that they can take a certification. And we had to be careful because we don't want to take any HIPAA information. You don't want to record people's temperatures and stuff that can be construed. But what you can do is go, hey, employee, or hey, guest, do you abide by these procedures? You know, do you know that you should stay at home if you have a certain temperature? Right? You're not saying what is your temperature, you're saying, you know, if you have a temperature, you should stay home, yes or no. And a cool QR code, so I'll put this together. Oh, QR code pops up, especially for those buildings that have security, right? They can just scan that QR code. It's got the big color coded. Those colors actually change by the day so that security guards can tell if somebody's trying to use something that's different. This back to work package, there's several other things in it, but it's ready. It's Citrix Ready and available now in the Citrix Ready marketplace. We're actually bringing the Spotify and the New York Times. I think New York Times first. It seems like that one's going to be the closest. That will also be available for Citrix Ready. We've got a lot of requests for that. It's funny, you know, we got like all the good businessy stuff that you're supposed to have. Everybody's like, hey, when's the Spotify coming, right? So, you know, it's really cool that we've been able to take the innovations we made at the hackathon and these gentlemen, their work here, and bring it to so other people can enjoy it, right? I mean, let's be honest. Obviously, there's a small charge for it, but you know, at the end of the day, we just want to be able to get this out, get it into people's workspace, because as more and more stuff comes in there, people are going to spend more and more time in it. Because I think that's probably been, as we've done customer implementations, like, well, not everything's in there yet. Well, it's a new product, so we got to bring some things in that aren't currently in there. You might have to work in two different spots, but you get the idea, two different browser tabs. But we're going to eat those browser tabs as we go along. One of the great ways to get people trained to come over into the workspace environment, put their music in there, right? Put some movie reviews in there, do some fun stuff, you know, just kind of bait them to come inside. So people like it. For us as a partner, we do a lot of proof of concepts just to show people what's possible. It's basically, we do almost like customized hackathon videos, right? We're doing some right now with some very innovative companies that are not only looking to bring maybe innovation to their company, but also possibly move this as a product level, so as an additional revenue stream. So there's a lot of things, anybody that's innovative, we'd love to be able to talk to and just see what you got going on, and you know, bring a little magic to it.
And I think you mentioned that a couple of prospects had actually seen the video and it had opened up the conversation.
Absolutely. You know, it can be nebulous, right? Employee experience software is a brand new category of software, right? And it's not, there's zero rip and replace. So if you're worried about, you know, knocking something out of your current tech stack, or does it overlap with this and that, and yeah, there's some bleed over into some areas, but this thing is, I mean, it's a brand new way to work. And it would have been perfect for 2020. This thing would have been perfect for 2020. It just came out. This category of software just kind of came out. So it's really hard to ask people to do a cultural shift in the middle of a pandemic, let's be honest. So 2021 is about a year of better than 2020, hopefully. But, you know, this is the time to look at this. We've all kind of had that taste of remote work, and I don't think it's going anywhere anytime soon. Workspace with intelligence. Just that employee experience is so much more important when a lot of people are sitting at home and they're going to be in and out of the office, and a lot of that personal connection both to the work and to the coworkers is you know, it's going to be changed, and it's a perfect time for this. It's a perfect time for this kind of software. We do all kinds of cool stuff. We got a lot of cool stuff coming, and of course make employees very, very, very productive on top of that.
Okay. So, Martin, do you have any questions from our audience, or any questions on your own behalf?
Nothing from the audience yet. But for my own part, I must have seen you in the US, actually, in Santa Clara, because I was there as well. and it was pretty much as you talked about the Podio developers and a few admins like me, because I'm not a developer. I would not have checked that mark. But how do you see the changes in how we use the intelligent workspace? Because we see it being adapted by more non-developers, but still a lot of the Podio guys.
I'll take it just because I got a little more Podio experience, and then so I'd like you to chime in. But we have to work with a lot of clients in a sense of how they're using the software and how the employees are actually working. We're talking about the person on the other side of the keyboard. We just had a conversation earlier this morning about how, that we come into a client and we'll talk to management, get the requirements, all the statement of work kind of stuff. And we always ask, can we have access to the frontline employees? And some places are, like a little reserved, but the ones that open up and allow us to get down there and talk to who's happening are the ones that we find that, a lot of this software, as is known as, is actually here. It's in the person. And, they'll be talking about how they do their job, and we ask them the mundane stuff like, can we watch you use Excel for 30 minutes? And they think that's a very strange thing to ask, right? So, and then we find out that they open an email, and it's some standardized email, and they'll grab something, and then the total field's down here, and like, oh no, this email, the total field is always SWIP swapped or something like that. And you're like, well, that's disastrous for software, right? So for a developer, having that thing out of place is, we got to know that. And for a person, that's just something that they do every day. So it's just not even, at this point, and maybe they've been doing it for like 5 years, and it's just literally muscle memory at that point. Well, the person's the software. So I'm going to come around to your question in the sense that, the real developers for Workspace with Intelligence are really the frontline employees that are actually telling us how they do their jobs. And we want to meet them so that Workspace and what we craft inside of Workspace is enjoyable, and that it becomes the thing that they want to use the most. And as you add more employees and more software inside that experience, the employees are going to naturally gravitate to it. And of course, we'll bait them with Uber Eats and some other things. If you go back and watch the video, you'll see there's a whole bunch of other stuff that we don't even mention going on in there that's pretty cool, as well as some Easter eggs. So, the real, don't be scared if you're not a developer. We're classically a developer, and a lot of Podio developers are, because we've kind of had to pave our own way in some instances, for better or worse on Podio's end. But it comes down to just trying to bring that human process in. Workspace is doing a great job with their tool sets to make it very, very approachable by administrators and really just IT people in general. So don't be scared. You do need to know a little JSON, I think. Is that right, Sohal? Need a little JSON.
Yeah, well, it all depends on, the API, right? Like basically Workspace is all about whether or not you understand the API or not, how it's going to communicate with the micro app that you're trying to build. But once you get past that issue of, okay, this is how it's going to work with micro app, then I don't see a problem where a regular admin that has no low code, or maybe a minimum code can create. As you can see, Spencer and Alex, right? They know a little bit of code, but not to extent where they can just go in and start customizing stuff. It's basically building an app is so easy where it's just drag and drop. I can't, how do you want it? You're basically becoming a UI designer aspect of it, right? It's understanding of how the user is going to communicate with the micro app. Then you kind of build in the back end of it. So that's what I got. But.
Yeah, and I use the term developer in a very, very wide sense. And, for me, I break them down into what most people think of when we say developer are coders. So somebody who spends all day in an IDE, you slide pizza under the door to them, and they understand all of the curly braces and semicolons, and they maybe code in C# or Java. But I think certainly within the Citrix world, there are many more scripters. So probably working with PowerShell or Python.
Yeah.
And writing a script is a means to an end, right? It's not what they spend all day doing. They'll do it to perform some automation, maybe capture some configuration as code. And really, you know, they're still getting to grips, as you say, the person is the software. You still have to understand logic and flow, and you know, if this happens, then we need to take that action. But then there's this third category of builders that can use these low-code, no-code tools. And what's really interesting is that you can create something that to the user, to the end user, is indistinguishable from one of those Java or C# applications, but you've basically dragged around on a wireframe and connected things up and entered an endpoint and built some UI. But all the boilerplates sedimented down into the platform, all of the boring stuff of calling the API and parsing the response and all of that, that's the great thing. It's become just part of how RESTful APIs work, and they all work the same way. So we are able to have folks like Alex and Spencer create apps without having to do a bunch of heavy lifting. It becomes more about knowing the API and knowing the process and knowing the result that you want to achieve.
That's why we focus on the end user, right? Because let's be honest, the person, you know, Sally in accounting doesn't care, right? They don't care that all the semicolons and curly brackets and all that kind of stuff. They just want to be able to approve expense reports a lot faster, right? And her manager doesn't want to have to spend all day messing with emails, right? So, because they have other things to do. And workspace, you know, its number one target is that redundant and mundane stuff. And just like the phone tag that we put in there, where, you know, we saw that a phone call went out, a text message out, phone call went in, they missed each other. How many times does this happen, right? And it's a waste of time. It's a waste of time for the client, especially if it's a sales client. What's more professional? Go, oh, hey, I missed it. Let me send you. Let's just set a time. Obviously, things aren't good for each other right now. Let's just set something on the calendar. And you know, we did Vite. Spencer, I think you did Vite or Mr. Davis. Okay. You know, and let's just hash it out like two human beings and just get the time on a calendar. And to be honest, we can take that mundane task of calendaring something and just pass it off to the machines, right? So, you know, and let that other person choose. And Vite's cool because you can be like, I'm available here, here, and here, instead of like, no, you look at my calendar link. No, you look at mine, right? And it's, no, we can just kind of tie those things together and just, Zoom's there. Everybody loves Zoom. Everybody likes GoToMeeting. We can do GoToMeeting. There's other ones, right? Teams. You know, we can just go ahead and get that thing set up, right? And it's kind of a mechanical task. You know, obviously they called you back. So they probably want to talk to you. So yeah, most of the time, if they don't want to talk to you, they'll ignore your email. It is what it is, right? We don't have to spend the time.
Forget about the AI aspect of it. Once that becomes available, that's going to be pretty huge from, you know, what I've seen shown, where maybe, you know, the AI can do it for them if it becomes like redundant, that this is what the person does every time.
Right, and we're automating away the busy work, not the interesting, rewarding work that people actually want to get on with. So I think that's a great. I mean, we could talk about this literally for the rest of the day, but unfortunately, we're running close to time. So I think it's probably time to just start to wrap things up. And let me see, can I share this again?
I don't want to stand in front of our ending here. If anybody's interested, we'd love some innovative use cases to bring our way. We do offer free or extremely low cost proofs of concept. So just reach out to us. It's brickbridgeconsulting.com.
All right.
On that, I know there's a water bottle giveaway. Is that right?
There is, yeah. In just a minute or two.
folks through the end here.
I'll just let people know that we do have, seemed like there were no developers, but if you want to learn more, we have a developer newsletter, bit.ly/ctx-dev-news. And we actually sent out the February one last week with quite a focus on micro apps. And like I said, when we say developer, we cast a very, very broad net. You can always email us, developers@citrix.com, and you can follow us on Twitter @CitrixDeveloper. And let's hand back to Stephanie, because I know that the Citrix water bottles are highly coveted, and we have 3 to give away, and they have a Bluetooth speaker in the lid, so you can go on a picnic and annoy other people in the park.
Placed on Spotify.
Yeah, that is the spotty, which is it's good for a bike. Sits down and bike. No.
You can also, I think you can hook up Alexa with Workspace, and she can play it whenever a notification comes up.
Yeah, we're working on that. All right, very good.
All right,
well,
we have winners.
While you guys were talking, I put everybody who was on into my prize wheel. It's a little digital wheel, and it takes a long time to spin it, and I don't want to waste anybody's time, but I did pull 3 winners. So I have Raj Singh, Dave Kearns, and Corey, hopefully it's Zahner. I will reach out to you after the webinar is over and get your address, and we'll get you the water bottles. Let's see, can everybody see the slide that I'm sharing? Because it looks like on my, okay, good. I'm doing one of those dual monitor things where it's not showing up over here, but it's showing up over there. Okay, so those are the water bottles. I want one. They look really cool, but I want to thank you guys for being with us today. Everyone from Brickbridge, thank you so much, and congratulations on your win. And thank you to Sunny and Pat for being with us from Citrix. Really appreciate you guys coming to us with us today. It was really, really a great story.
All right, thank you, Stephanie.
Thanks for having us on.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Yeah, I was just like seeing through there's a couple people have put some stuff in the chat about they enjoyed the session and more information. So I'll definitely get that to you, Pat. Also, make sure you follow us at MyCUGC on Twitter. And I just put in the chat link for you, link to the survey. Like I said, it's short and anonymous, and it's just for CUGCs only. We just like to get an idea of how these webinars are going. If there's other content you would like to see, we always want to hear your suggestions. So definitely fill that out. And with that, I can return you all to the rest of your day. I hope you all stay happy, healthy, and safe. And I hope to see you on another CUGC webinar or local event or Excel meeting sometime soon. Bye, everyone.
All right. Cheers. Bye-bye.
Bye.